We're talking about past lives, what we do in the shadows, and Talk to Me, the only guy who talks to me every day online. It's your host, Mike Indeglio.
What's up, team? Welcome to K&M Geekly. Just a sneak peek at two geeks talking about some of the things that got them through their week and last week that they are geeking on, and I am so excited to welcome back to the show my dear friend. He said someone referred to him as my partner this week, and
It's true.
It brought me joy. Keith Varney, how you doing this week? How's the weekend shaping up, and what are you looking forward to this week?
Oh, well, the weekend's actually shaping up very nicely. Yesterday, I went to a it's not a
Yard
swap
sale?
meet, not a yard sale. It's a whatever it is. Like our town has one that just runs every Saturday, and so I went there and I got some new Xbox controllers because I'd Lenny all of my controllers, and so they all die, and then I need to give one to my dad. Because my other joy last weekend was setting up. I gave him my old Xbox, but I forgot my one. I gave him my 360, and
Happy birthday, Dad. Here's a Game Boy.
I was teaching him how to drive on like Need for Speed 2004.
Mm-hmm.
It was hilarious and a joy. Dad, I know you're watching. I will get you a better Xbox next time I come up.
That's awesome. We're going to talk more about something, a topic later when we get to Weekly Rad. I wanted to ask you a question and maybe facilitate a little conversation. I'm excited to hear your input because I know, well, we'll get there when we get there. Keith, I would probably wager everything I have that you didn't watch Geekly last week. Did I maintain my...
Your heart may be broken, but your money is safe.
Well, last week I lamented that I almost saw all of the movies I wanted to see this year in the theater. There were two that slipped through the cracks, and this week I went on a mission to remedy that. So I saw two films, both are A24 joints, and I am super into A24. And interestingly, to those watching and to those subscribers of our channel, A24 is actually one of the only studios who has already agreed to accept all of the terms of the WGA and the actor strike.
Sure.
So this coming fall and into the winter, as you notice, there aren't any films opening because things have screeched to a halt. You probably will see some more A24 films getting wide release.
Yeah.
Because they did the sensible thing and said, okay.
Yeah, and you want to know what happens when you pay people reasonably. They're probably going to make a crap ton of money because all the competition's gone.
Well, as this has shown, people are enjoying going back to the movies. And like you said, if you're the only game in town, your small little indie studio stands to... Well, I mean, it helps that they're winning a lot of awards and such and letting creators... The A24, and we'll talk about this when we get into the movies, one thing I've been really enjoying about a lot of their films is that they feel wholly unique and original. It may not be your cup of tea, but they are allowing filmmakers to tell their stories their way, and
it's less put through the blender of Hollywood.
And when you say Hollywood, what I mean is the three genres that get made these days: superhero films, which you're seeing kind of fall off because people are getting sick of them.
Yeah,
your standard raunchy comedies and, well, I guess what would you call them? Like stunt adventure epics?
Just like classic action movies.
Yeah. Those are the things you're seeing and there is some fatigue showing and IP fatigue. Let's run indie back out. Let's run so and so back out for 18th sequel. So it's nice to see wholly original films, and I want to talk about two that I saw this week. And you're going to talk about a TV show that I absolutely love, and I want to know where you're at it. So let's jump right in, Keith. I'm going to start. One of the movies I was really excited to see in the theater, and I had a date to go with myself to go see it at a independent film house that didn't work out. Luckily, it got distribution. It is now available on VOD, and it's coming to Apple TV Plus if you have that in the next couple of months. But it is available right now if you want to check it out. And that is a movie called Past Lives. It is written by and directed by Celine Song, produced by David Hinoja, Christine Vachon, Pamela Koffler, stars Greta Lee, Teo Yu, and John Majaro. Just those three. And it was distributed by A24, and a bunch of other film studios and companies worked on it, obviously. Keith, this is a film about, and both of these synopses I'm going to try to not give away too much, but this film is really about two school friends, elementary school friends, and the girl here, Hae Sung, or Nora, as when she moves to America, changes her name, immigrates to Canada, then to America. Her school friend, what was his name in the movie? He's Ha Sung.
Clark.
She's Na Young. Yeah, I apologize for not. My Korean is bad. Let's put it that way. Anyhow, he looks her up on Facebook a few years later. That they touch base. More time passes, and 20-some years later, he comes to New York, and she's married. They visit. That's basically the synopsis. Now, I don't want to give too much away because...
So it's kind of a love story, sort of.
Yeah. It's really a story about immigration in a lot of ways, about the life we didn't live, about adjudicating your choices, finding the line between complacency and comfort and contentment, all those kinds of things that people our age really wrestle with.
Yeah, fair.
What I love about this movie is its restraint. Because just by that synopsis, you might assume that, oh, maybe she's married and it's about a will they, won't they? Are these two going to rekindle something
Which
that potentially happened? And it may or may not go those places. But it may just be as powerful as us. There's actually something to that about us projecting what we think this story should be versus what it is. And I'll tell you straight going in, there's kind of a misnomer I've always felt, Keith, in storytelling, and especially in theater, but also in film, that you need, as an actor, to be always acting on verbs, right? You need to be trying to accomplish something. What you want to avoid is just playing vibes, right? That like a feeling is not interesting to watch or is impossible to play. It's too esoteric, right?
Right. You need an intent. You got to always be trying to accomplish something.
I don't know if I fully believe that, right? I feel that there are ways to express feeling that don't necessarily need to be active. I think musicals are a great example of that. I think music and underscoring can set a vibe, can set a feeling, and those feelings can evoke emotion, which is powerful as well, right? And allows you to kind of interpret your own stories on top of that. This movie is all vibes, okay? It is all, we talk about this a lot, no human being is feeling one emotion at any given time. There is a plethora of things going on. And sometimes you can't even articulate what it is you're feeling. And what I love about this film, it is about that. It is about feeling a ton of things all at once and not understanding it. I don't understand why I'm feeling conflicted or sad or scared. There's such a multitude of emotions that these two characters are feeling, and then the husband is feeling for reasons you will come to find.
Sure.
And there aren't any easy answers. And there, in some cases, aren't answers at all. It's just is what it is. And this is a snapshot of that experience that these three characters are having. And in some places, it evokes feelings of connection for me, the viewer, because I've had similar experiences or I've shared random complicated emotions that I understand the struggle. And in some spots, it's a wholly unique experience I've never felt, and observing it through other people is really interesting. The cinematography is absolutely incredible. The cinematographer here is Shabir Kirshner, and the performances to a man are absolutely stellar. There are child actors in the beginning of the film who are incredible. these characters are incredible with a really hard task, as I just mentioned. There aren't a lot of very distinct emotions or feelings that are like surgically able to be performed. It is just really an absolute visual and storytelling masterpiece in many ways. I absolutely loved it. It might not be for everybody. It's not action path. This is a meditation.
Right.
That's the word I would use. It is a meditation, and it is well worth the 100 minutes it runs. Doesn't overstay its welcome.
Mike reviewed an adult movie.
Yes. It's one of the 2 A24 films I'm going to recommend today, and it's the one Keith won't watch.
I have feelings.
I didn't say you have feelings. I'm saying of the two I'm going to talk about, I suspect
I am an adult. I have feelings. I understand.
The fall is coming up, Keith. I know football is coming, and I know spooky season is coming, and I know that of your list of things that content.
I mean, no, I'm not going to watch it, but yes.
Yes, correct. Thank you. It's very good, and if the opportunity comes on VOD or if you have Apple TV Plus, you have to see this. You have to see the movie. It's very good. One of my favorite films of the year. Okay, so that is Past Lives. Keith, a show I watch and I love. I don't know if you just jumped in or you just jumped into the new season, but we're talking What We Do in the Shadows. Talk to me.
Speaking of past lives or lives that just go on forever, What We Do in the Shadows is a FX Hulu series created by Jermaine Clement, who you might remember from A Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah, HBO.
Did you watch that?
Mm-hmm.
And based on a Taika Waititi movie. But this is a sort of a spin-off of the movie series. And also speaking of, you talk about A24 and how creators are able to just sort of like follow their own weird rabbit holes, and you get much more exciting, much more interesting stuff as a result of it. This is a weird, hilarious show, and it's sort of it's a mockumentary broad comedy about a family of vampires and their human caretaker in Staten Island, with a bunch of just filthy talented comedians running this show. And it is, I am now fully caught up. I started watching it like 3 weeks ago, and now I'm fully caught up, and I wish there was 10 more seasons of it.
Have you watched the adjacent spinoff?
I have not watched the movie yet.
Not the movie. There's another spinoff. It's called something paranormal, and it's about the documentary film crew following these vampires.
Oh, no kidding.
It's a making of. You got to watch it.
100% got to watch that.
Same creators and everything.
Yeah, and so it's basically, it's very silly, broad humor, but it's done by exceedingly smart writers and comedians. So the humor, while ridiculous, is also very sophisticated, and has this unbelievable cast of hysterical people. You know, Matt Berry is probably the most famous one of them, and so iconic for lots of different reasons. But Kayvon Novak, Natasha Demetriou, Harvey Guillen, and Mark Proksch is as the energy vampire.
Man, just the concept of that is brilliant.
Concept of, with drop-bys by Doug Jones, like some and like cameos, like you would not believe the people they got to cameo on this. Anyway, it's hard to describe what it is, other than just like, if you're a narcissistic weirdo who happens to be a vampire who doesn't understand consequences and doesn't understand, contemporary life.
Yeah, I would say if you took like a mockumentary office, like The Office, right? And you married it with a Waiting for Guffman type improv movie, it feels very much in that universe. And with like this gender fluid horniness to it. Bat. And I mean, it's just so funny. And Natasha Demetriou is somebody I'd never seen her work before, but holy crap. It's just comedians who have made the boldest of choices allowed free reign to just do their thing.
Free reign. and basically a huge budget. I mean, the visual effects on this stupid show are so good, and I can't believe how much money they spend on
And
this.
as silly as it is, there are a bunch of serialized arcs that actually play out and there are stories being told, and it goes places. It's not sort of just a rando situation.
No, and it really has become the story of Guillermo, Harvey Guillen's character, the human who wants to become a vampire, and he's 100% kind of taken over the heart and story drive of the entire series.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a spoiler to tell what his journey is.
Well, but his desire is right there in the pilot. His desire is to be turned into a vampire.
Yeah,
and then he goes on
through literal hell in order to do that.
Endlessly. But he all of a sudden like has agency and he's the only adult in the show, but he also has agency. It does all this anyway. If you enjoy sort of smart, stupid humor, and amazing performances, definitely give it check it out.
It's on Hulu. It's on FX. It's absolutely worth a watch. Wellington Paranormal is the spinoff.
Okay.
And
I will 100% check that out.
If you're even remote, Keith, you should Google around. I think it's a BBC show, and it's hard to come by. You're going to have to do some interneting. But Matthew Berry has a British show called Toast of London.
Oh, yes. No, I definitely want to see that.
Which is this, but marry it with total absurdist comedy, very British absurdist comedy, which is not everybody's cup of tea. Trust me, it is very.
No, but I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
you will go ape shit for it.
Just the talent on the screen, you know, in front of the screen, behind the screen, is just off the charts for this weird little series.
It's so good. God darn, it's so good.
You know, it came in and nobody even paid any attention to it, and everybody who catches on to it is like, "Oh my god!"
And I have been waiting because season 3 season 3, 5. Geez, debuted not long ago, and I didn't watch it because I wanted to watch it all in
We're not even through.
So I'm held out.
Well, I ran into the end of it by accident. I'm like, what?
No,
that's it. And then I realized there's more coming.
Because it's so bingey that you don't want to run out.
You don't even notice it because they're 25 minutes long, and it's if you took The Office, made it vampires, removed all content restrictions, and just went nuts. And every character is Michael Scott.
Yes.
It's like every character is the crazy character.
Keith, last night I went to a scary movie with my brother.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked many times. I'm not a scary guy. I like them, but I generally like to watch them at home so that I can like be protected.
Yeah, well, I think this is a great way to preface your reaction to this movie. That you texted me this morning at like 8:15 in the stupid morning.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, can we do this thing? What time starts the show?" I'm like, "Mike, it's 8:30 in the morning. Why are we talking?"
I didn't sleep good.
You were too scared from the movie.
So, I like silly scary movies. I like campy scary movies. And then there are the ones that crawl into your brain, right? And I'd heard good things about this film. It's A24, also distributed by A24, but it's directed and written by the Philippou brothers, who are YouTube guys. They are YouTube filmmakers. They have like a prank show. They have some horror stuff. They have some stuff, and the plot of the film. I'm going to be very careful here. The plot of the film is basically one of those urban legend type of like a Ringu situation, or there's like something people are hearing, people or a red rum. What do you call it? Mother Mary. What's the one of the lady in the mirror?
Oh,
Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary. Yeah. Bloody Mary.
You know, like, oh, the kids are doing this, but they updated in that, oh, there's a meme going around on the phones where all these people are tweaking out. And should we try it? And where there'll be consequences and blah, blah, blah. And I should also say, I did say it was written by Danny Philippou and Bill Hinsman, produced by Samantha Jennings, starring a bunch of Australian actors. It is an Australian film. These are Australian directors. And I think that gives it a it sets it apart from a lot of
as a flavor that's not American.
Yeah, that very. So you don't know any of these actors, and there is a hand, as you can see here, a hand that apparently, if you touch the hand, Keith, and you say "talk to me," the spirits come into the room through this hand that apparently used to be a medium's hand. And this is these
Mike, usually when you talk to the hand, nobody continues talking.
But then if you say "let me in," and the spirit can inhabit you, and all the kids are filming it, and you go crazy because you're inhabited by a spirit, and it goes around the internet, and then more people want to do it, right? So let me talk to you about some of my so these teens do stupid stuff and the demons come type movies are a dime a dozen. They're everywhere, right?
There's pretty basic, yeah.
So let me tell you the tropes of those movies that this combats head on, and why I absolutely love this movie, Keith, and cannot wait for you to watch it.
Okay.
Number one, the biggest trope of all is if you touched this hand, Keith, right, and a real ghost came into the room, your ass would never do this again. You would never. The movie would be like roll credits. We're never doing that again. Like people,
I think that's
people
fair.
Behaving stupid, making the stupid decision. There's that commercial on TV. It's like, where should we go? We're running. Let's go into that garage with the chainsaws hanging. You know, like. So how do we combat that? Well, this movie is not scary movie first, then try to shoehorn in some themes. It's actually a film about some stuff. And what it's about is peer pressure, kids who are so desensitized by what's happening on their phones that they're looking for anything to give them an actual visceral experience, trauma, and grief.
Interesting.
So the couple of the characters who are most affected in this version of the film, because there is a sequel greenlit, are dealing with some trauma in their lives. And so when spirits who turn out to not potential to be not
malevolent,
friendly, not friendly ghosts, use what they find in your brain space. Oops, what did I do there? Use what they find in your brain space.
I think it was the ghost, Mike.
To manipulate you. They can feed on that trauma and use it against you, which is actually pretty horrifying. So, also, there's a time in our lives, Keith, I don't know if you remember, in your teens and your early 20s, where you think you're invincible, right? And maybe you experimented with some things. And maybe you made that one choice at a party that you shouldn't have done, and then all of a sudden you're in a bad situation.
Or you didn't do anything and you regretted that.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yes. So that's where these kids find themselves. And I think the fact that they chose this kind of these isolated teens in an isolated place, it always rings you. Their decisions never feel like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Maybe a little bit, but you understand the peer pressure.
They justify it narratively.
Yes,
as opposed to it just happens.
Then you have the demons who enter the picture. Their motivations are clear. Their manipulations and their motivations are very clear, and you are somewhat aware. You are unaware from a lot of the film whether the experience one of these people are having. It makes a little Sixth Sense then, where there is a question whether the ghosts are benevolent. This is benevolent or malevolent. So that's an interesting struggle. And then the other thing, and I say this as a performer myself, a lot of times the leads in these movies are not the strongest actors. And that is, if you're not connected to characters because the performances aren't very authentic in these experiences, it's hard to grok. To a person, and this is incredible to say, the performances in this movie are exceptional. Not just good, not just adequate, exceptional. Not just the scary bits, but their relationships with each other are very sound. The reasons they are doing certain things for other people, very important. Incredible. Then the scary stuff. The effects. It's a fairly low budget film, are all practical. And so
awesome. Now we're talking.
They're all practical. It's a lot of feel the tension instead of show the tension, which I love. And when it is shown, it is brutal. But the brutality and almost no jump scares, but the brutality and the stuff that's hard to watch is almost always when you don't expect it, or from a character you don't expect. There's always a zig where they should zag. And at the end of the film, the kind of the denouement I'm not gonna say it's Sixth Sense level like swerve, but it has the same impact where you're like, oh damn, it puts a bow on the whole thing. It's not all about a sequel. The film is just a tight 90 minutes, perfect, great movie that has themes and things to say, great character development, and also is a banger horror film. I couldn't believe how much I loved this movie. I'm sure it's going to be all kinds of on demand and on your streamings when the spooky season rolls around. You have to see it. It is the highest of recommends. Talk to me. I wish I could say more. I think it's going to be like a a franchise. I think it's that good.
Well, that's great. I love movies like that, and I know, Jillian is already chain watching horror movies, so we'll definitely have to add that to the rotation.
This is, oh man, I'm so pumped for you to watch this. We'll talk about it again when you see it.
And it's funny. I said this morning, as she was watching a movie this morning already, and I was like, wouldn't it be great if we didn't hate everybody in the movie? And that was like, because I've written some horror stuff in my day, and like I remember working hard in all of them to like write characters that we don't detest, so that when they get eaten by the monster, like I feel something about it. That I really appreciate it when they don't just have hateable characters.
Yeah, and I should mention, after all that praise I just heaped, this is the directorial feature film debut for both these guys. This is their first swing at it. Now, they've been doing a ton of YouTube content, but the first time they've written and directed a movie, and it is a banger.
So you think it's our, we've done a lot of YouTube comedy. You think it's our time?
So moving on, I think, lastly, instead of just doing our normal weekly rad, I wanted to actually have a quick little conversation with you, Keith. So this week, next Friday, in fact, a week from whenever the 1st of September, August 31st here in the States at 8 p.m., the early access drops for Starfield. This game that people will know Mike is very excited for.
We do.
Yeah. And I'm excited for a lot of games. I play a lot of games. I'm excited for a lot of games. A lot of great stuff coming. Spider-Man 2, super pumped for the new Assassin's Creed, all kinds of stuff I'm excited for. But Starfield has evoked something in me. I love space. I love sci-fi. Keith, I think we can officially now say you and I are sitting on the juror panel of the Brooklyn Sci-Fi Film Festival.
That's right.
Our bona fides have grown.
There it is.
So, which will be online in October. So check it out, BrooklynSciFiFilmFestival.com.
Yeah, we'll do a whole thing. We'll hype it. Yeah. Don't worry.
Anyway, so what sets this apart? For some reason, it has flicked a switch in me, the hype switch. I don't know about y'all, but like, that feeling back when you were a kid, Christmas time rolls around, and like Christmas is awesome. I love Christmas, but there's something about the month leading up to Christmas, like the torture of like just getting hype about something and doing all the things, circling what toys you want in the magazines when we were
JCPenney magazine.
JCPenney, Best, Toys R Us. I'm buying a new TV. So you spend, the best part of buying a new TV is not going to Best Buy or Amazon. It's the 3-4 weeks beforehand where you're reading every review, doing comparisons, talking to people, reading Reddit, doing all that stuff.
Always. Yep. No, that part of it, I'm 100% with you. Yeah.
And I know that you, Keith, are much more measured when it comes to media and games. Like you'll wait till it comes on the streaming or you have a little more patience than me. But I'm wondering when it comes to like some geek media, movies, games, TV, whatever, what are things that you rode that hype train. Like me, I went and bought a new controller and a bean bag so I could sit close to the TV. That's my prep for the game, and I'm reading other reviews. What's the last? I'll start just to pitch a few. One I remember, interesting, was, and I think it's not far from an anniversary, but the original Jurassic Park. I had read that novel, and I was so excited for the movie.
Yeah.
I remember rereading the novel, looking up when it was going to be playing at the local theater, circling it because you couldn't get tickets in advance back in the day, planning when I was going to go to the theater to get my ticket to stand in line to go to the thing. So that's one I remember. And also when they not re-released, the first prequel of Star Wars.
Right, sure, everybody, yeah.
I was like a sophomore in high school, freshman in high school. I made plans with my English teacher to like hang out, to like meet up, to go see, like with a bunch of the students, to go see Star Wars.
I don't know. Like, was it Ron DeSantis?
No, come on. It was cool.
His only friends are high school kids?
No, it was Laura Ebersol. She was cool. It was awesome. So what are some you remember?
I mean, it's funny. Like, I do remember Jurassic Park. But for me, and the Star Trek movies were obviously big for me. But you actually hit on what my hype train is already, and that is when I'm going to purchase some new tech. It's a computer, it's a monitor, it's a TV, it's a PlayStation, whatever it is. Like, it's a camera. I love diving into the minutia before I buy something. And like just really just like, okay, let's talk about all the specs. I just love looking at the data, and then I love watching the reviews, and then I love, my favorite part about getting a new TV or something is sitting down with it for the first time and going through all the menus. Like, weirdly, that's the hype. A piano, oh my God. I mean, the research I do before I buy a new piano, like all of that. It's you're right. It's less about sort of the media stuff, the movies, the TV shows. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited to see that, but I'm not in a huge hurry. I don't ever want to see anything the first night because I don't want to be crowded. I don't like people.
Yeah.
But the technology part, the toys, when it gets here, that gets me really excited. I know when I bought this piano, which now was probably 10 years ago, but like the amount of research I did before I picked out my piano, which ended up being the same brand as my previous, that upgraded model from my previous one. But like going to the store, playing all, going side by side, playing all the keyboards, just dreaming about what if I could afford the next level up, whatever. And
where's the value proposition? Like, I could get the one above, but I feel like right in here, one level, I don't need these features.
Right, and doing all the reasons. Okay, so but the internal, for digital piano. Okay, yeah, the brain is the same. It's just in a better cabinet. But if you use the brain, if you're going to record into your seat, it doesn't matter what the cabinet is. That kind of stuff. I spend
the tease is always
hours.
Great. I remember the Super Mario World when I first got a Super Nintendo. I loved the game, but almost better than the game was I would sneak the instruction booklet to school with me. And then during class, like when we were supposed to be doing like stuff, I would be reading the instruction booklet for like, I don't need the instruction booklet, obviously, but I just wanted to consume it. I wanted to be in it. I remember, do you ever have to do a pitch? Like, I remember when my dad finally said you can get a PC, right? Like I had a Commodore, but this was my first, And I remember looking up, there was Packard Bell at the time, and there was Gateway 2000. And I was looking back and forth between them. And then I made a pick, and I had to present to my dad, who didn't know a goddamn thing about any of this, why this was worth the, $1,200 or whatever it was. And
it's cheap at that point.
And I was like, Dad, it comes with an encyclopedia and a CD-ROM 1-speed drive where he had to put the CD-ROM into a little case and stick that in. And he was just like, okay, because you could call it a number and we'd have to go to a store. They delivered in a big cow box. I remember the cow boxes. No, and I was remembering last night the first computer that I bought myself going to college, and like. My brand at that point, I did all the research, and it was a Sony Vaio desktop. And it was a Pentium 2, and I paid almost $3,000 for it. But like, that was so much fun. So yes, it's
it just give me the numbers. I just want a series of numbers. That's what gets me excited.
Flowcharts. Yeah, there's been a shift because I was big into the midnight electronics boutique release point, right? Because you'd like gear up, you'd go. It's almost like Black Friday. You'd go to the store. What do they call it? GameStop would be, but it was at the time it was EB, right? It would be or Babbage's. It would be open until midnight. And on Monday night, because games are released on Tuesdays, so you'd bounce in at midnight, and there'd be just a bunch of Mii's, just like versions of Mii's with different plumbing, hanging out, getting the game, right, talking about it. And we've lost that a little bit because everything's digital now, which has its pros and cons.
I miss. I mean, obviously, digital is so much more convenient, so much better. It's environmentally better. Like every piece of it is better. But I miss going and getting the latest Madden on PC that came in the big box.
Oh, hell yeah. And you get 35 floppy disks, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, even before then, yeah, the whole mess of floppy disks, you know, but like
the other
all
thing
the way through.
I think technology or like our advancement has ruined a little bit is there used to be something when, at least games media, and I'm sure it's this way for for books and stuff too. I mean, it used to be you're playing Madden or you're playing Mario or you're playing an adventure point and click adventure, which I loved back in the day. You had two choices when it came to I'm stumped, right? Because there weren't many hints in game. You either called the 900 number, which there was a hint line.
Right.
You bought the hint book, which came with like one of those little red strips, and they'd have like the answers, and you'd have to decide which ones you want to use. Or more likely, you went to school or on a bulletin board system and you chatted with people. And you interacted about the lore you really loved. But now there's walkthroughs. You can't sneeze without a walkthrough in your email box or game guides. And there's a discipline now that I lack to keep you from just reading the answers, which I miss that discourse of, hey, did you know that if you go down the third pipe and hold your hat, you go to Big World? And
right.
I think kids are missing out on that a little bit. But that's not I guess that's not the conversation we're having. I was just wondering, is there anything you're hype about coming up, Keith?
Well, I mean, okay. Well, for me, it's sports. Super hyped for the NFL season, the NHL season starting up.
Fantasy, right? That's a big thing for you.
Fantasy is a huge thing for me. So getting ready for the fantasy draft. I've already had my first one, and we have ours coming up soon. Although it used to be more exciting, like it was sports, and now it's just sort of scary. But like politics, I guess these days it's now just terrifying. Yeah. But back in the day, coming up on election season and the conventions and the debates, I'm like, yes, I can't wait. I'm all excited. Like I want to like watch it like it's the Super Bowl. So hopefully, if we ever get to a point where that's not so scary, I will get back to that. So I get super hyped for that.
The last thing I'll mention, and then we'll go out, is I still get hyped for weather events. If there's a big snowstorm coming or a big like any storm coming, I love to hunker down and and watch all the reports.
100% on that.
I don't know what it is.
I love it.
It's sort of like I like the feeling of something scary happening, but I get to be in my safe little compartment.
Yeah.
So there's like little risk, but
it hits a little differently when you own your property.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
But like the first hurricane that hit here, and I owned it. I'm like, oh,
in the basement, the floods are coming in.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I'm in an apartment in Queens, and like, bring it on. And now I'm like, just bring it on a little bit. Just keep it out of my basement.
Yeah, that's true. I'm really curious because there's something about it. It's one of those magical things in life. You can't explain quite specifically what the hype is all about or why certain things make like this game is no. I'm daunted by it. I don't really want a game that's 18,000 hours long. I really don't have time for that. But there's something about it, the unknown, or just the getting something to look forward. My brother says it often. It's just something to look forward to, which as you get older becomes more important, I think. I completely believe in that, and it's somewhat like I try to explain to people who don't quite understand my obsession with the sports, right? Why football Sunday is sacred to me, and I need to do it the same way every single week, and that's really important to me.
And I'm sort of like oddly protective of that and in a way that people don't always understand. But it is like I have something to look forward to. And I'm like, it is like the thing I wake up like, 2 days till Sunday. Sunday, I'm going to have this thing. So, and it really is always having something positive to look forward to.
You can actually segment your friend group. And I'm not being facetious at all about this. You can segment your friend group by people who you need to tell, don't tell me the score of the game, versus people you know already respect that you're going to watch that shit on a time delay and don't dare send a spoiler unless we've confirmed we're in real time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, that is absolutely, like, my family has a whole system for it.
Yeah. I actually have a special do not disturb on my phone, which is like, and I actually like that about tech, like YouTube TV and a bunch of the things I subscribe to have spoiler warnings where you can say, these are teams I don't want to know. Yeah, it's getting better, but it's better than it used to be, at least.
Oh, man. But yeah, no, it's but you know, and is it silly? Is it pointless? Yeah, but it is also like part of what helps my mental health to always have something exciting to look forward to.
Look, man, you're right. What nobody should be yucking anybody else's yum. And what you prioritize is your thing. But I want to know if you're listening, and let me know in the comments or write an email at knmgeekly@gmail.com. What do you get hype about? What are your routines? What are your sort of superstitious things? I'm curious about you, how you handle hype and what things you get hype about. All right. That all said, as Keith just mentioned, don't let anybody yuck your yum or tell you what's cool or not. Keep on doing the things you find fun. We're going to talk again next week. Enjoy the start of spooky season, the end of summer. Until we see you next time, keep on geeking on.